going on, you guys? It's Keinan Briggs, athlete, coach, and mentor. A lot of athletes have goals, and these goals typically boil down to they want to be the best of the best, right? And the best of the best means you got to go Division One. Well, today's conversation is Division One the best option, right? You have a lot of options, a lot of variables. Obviously, Division One is probably the most appealing because you have a huge reputation if you're in the track and field world, right? You're going to have televised meets. You're going to have preferential treatment. You're going to get a bunch of gear. I mean, if you're in football, you're probably going to get a helmet for one helmet per day of the week, right? Or new uniforms, all those things. But is that really what makes Division One better, right? Is it because these teams or schools have numerous championships? You know, maybe athletes are going from their school to go pro. So let's dig deeper and figure out and talk about the concept of, is Division One the actual best option? Now, the first thing is D1 is very competitive when it comes to getting in, right? And so a lot of athletes really, really want to go, but we got to understand the acceptance rates. There are 8 million students that currently participate in high school sports, and only 480,000 will go on to compete as NCAA athletes, right? So just doing the math itself right there, it's not that many people that will actually be competing for Division One, right? It's a smaller number. So believe it or not, between Division One, Two, Three, and NAIA, Division Three has the most amount of athletes. So if you're planning on competing at the college level, you're going to broaden your spectrum by being able to compete at all levels. If you're just saying only Division One, you're putting yourself in a smaller pool, right? So there are 347 Division One sports programs. For Division Two, there's a little bit less, 312. Division Three, there's 442, which makes sense of why there are more Division Three athletes. And NAIA, which is rapidly growing, there's 251 NAIA programs. Now, that number doesn't necessarily mean that there is a track program there. It just means that they offer sports. So if you're saying, I want to go Division One, you're all the way down from 1,300 schools down to 300 and let's just say 350, right? Then you say, I want to go to school only in California. Well, then you dropped it down to 3 or 4, right? So you're really, really dropping this down. So I'm not 3 or 4, but maybe 15 or 20. But still, you're dropping that number down significantly. So broadening your spectrum really, really helps and will help you out a lot. The next question when it comes to track and field is Division One more athletically competitive? Now, obviously, certain sports, it is. If you're looking at the SEC for football, baseball, you could argue that it's more competitive. There's a lot more talent coming out of Division One football than there is anywhere else. However, today's conversation is more tailored towards track and field. When it comes to track and field, it's not really. The thing that I will say, it's that it's deeper in the amount of talent. So you might have a national champion run, 9.99 in the 100-meter dash. And you might have 15 guys running just shy of that. Division Two, you're going to have maybe 12 versus 15, right? My year when I was competing at Cal State LA, which was a Division Two school, our best jumper that won our nationals would have won Division One nationals in the triple jump. So it's not really about being too much different, right? It just comes down to something happened that led into that, because some Division One schools don't take transfers, or by the time the athletes get good, it's about year 3. And if you're already a transfer from a junior college, it's kind of harder to develop you. So they just don't take certain type of people, right? But what I will say is, when I was competing in the hurdles and triple jump for track and field, I was competing against Olympians. I was competing against athletes who made the Olympics, national champions. All these things were in like the actual heat or lane next to me. So what I will say is, with track and field, it's a lot more transparent. You're going to be able to see all types of abilities, all types of levels. For example, we always competed against UCLA, USC, all those things. The only difference was when we competed at our championships. So our conference wasn't as competitive, I should say, as the Pac-12 championships, right? Or nationals, things like that. But other than that, you're competing against the same type of talent and your body's still going through the same type of stress. So it's very important to understand that one piece. Now, getting a Division I scholarship, right? Like I said before, there are a lot less schools to get a scholarship from, right? But now once you're focused on getting a scholarship, and let's say you do go and still stick with Division I, again, that's great. However, most Division I programs are not offering full scholarships, right? The reason for it, it's a business, you know? So let's just say you get into a school of your choice that's Division I, and that school is offering you 50% tuition, which is a huge amount, right? They offer you 50% tuition, and all right, cool, let's go ahead and pay the rest. Well, the rest of that tuition might be $30,000. You know, it might be $20,000, all those things, which is still a lot of money. If you were to look at a smaller tier, smaller school, Division I or Division II, now you're looking at 50%, and now you're looking at maybe $12,000 for tuition after that. So there's many options you want to look at, right? What I will say is, yes, sometimes that money is worth it. If you are going to USC or Notre Dame, right, and you're on a partial scholarship, it's great because you're buying into that network. You can't buy into certain networks. Being a part of UCLA Medical or, law for Notre Dame, you're going to be amongst a certain type of people, which really, really, really helps you excel in life, because now you're going to be friends with people that own these companies, right? Versus people that are workers in the company. And that little difference changes everything, right? You might be interviewed, but because you're an alumni of the school, of the owner of that law firm or whatever, you're going to get kind of an extra step ahead of everyone else. It's sad to say, but it kind of is what it is. The options that I would say to you is just be smart about the things you choose and think about it long term as well, right? Now, for me, my main thing was I was going to the school that was free, period. If the second I was offered a full scholarship, I said I will not entertain anyone else other than any school that offers a full scholarship. The reason for it was I just didn't feel that I had to pay for school. I went to a public school in high school, middle school, all that stuff, and I had the athletic ability where coaches were calling me, asking me to come to their school. I felt my value was I shouldn't have to pay, right? But I didn't get any full offers from Division I. I went to junior college, and then I transferred into Cal State LA, where I was able to receive a full scholarship, and it was the best fit. Now, some of you guys may say, well, I don't want to go with the free one. That's fine, but you're going to have to figure out how you're going to pay for that, whether you're going to take out loans or whatever. But nobody wants to graduate college and be $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 in debt. I luckily was able to graduate and not be in debt. I actually profited some money. So it worked out for me. But again, I had the athletic ability. So you just kind of got to gauge your athletic ability, the tier you're at, and go from there. All right, so the next topic is Division I for me? And that's a question you got to ask yourself, right? For me, I went into college with the expectation of I want to go pro for track and field. So every decision I made was for that. Now, I wasn't the person that was receiving the best grades. I wasn't the person that got up and was excited about school until my upper division classes. But my motivation was to go pro, and I had to take full-time units, and I had to receive a certain GPA to not only be a part of the program, but just to be in the school, right? So it's important that you guys focus on and understand what you're there for. If you're there at a Division I program to wear the jersey and have fun, that's the wrong program for you to be in. Because I'll tell you right now, Division I is not only a job, it's a career that you're doing everything for that career. You wake up, you have weight training, you have study hall, you have practice. Practice typically is at a certain time, right? And then you have whatever other activities you have to do. So it's very important that you understand that you are living the sport. You don't have much free time. There were times where I would get up at 6:30, I would do my whole day, and I wouldn't get home until 11 o'clock, and I lived on campus, right? I was literally doing something every moment of the day. But it didn't bother me because I was doing everything in favor of my professional career, right? But if you want a social life, if you want to hang out with friends, all those things, and still play sports, you might want to look into other divisions, right? You can still do that at Division I. It's still possible. But the overall requirement is going to be a little bit less. Even if you're an athlete that plays in multiple sports. I had an athlete that decided to do football and then was doing lacrosse and couldn't decide. Well, the school that he chose allowed him to do both. And he did both sports for all 4 years. So keep that in mind, right? Now, the next part is understanding that when you're competing at that Division I level, it's a business and it's all about performance. So if your coach isn't performing, as in producing the results from you guys, the athletes, that coach can be removed. So there's a high turnover rate. You know, it's important that you guys understand that it's a high turnover rate. Don't choose a school because of the colors and because you get to walk around and say, hey, I'm a part of this program, right? Choose a school that fits you as a person, not an athlete. Choose a school that loves you, not you loving it specifically, right? Try to make sure that whatever school you choose, if the coach were to leave, if they were to somehow say, you know what, we're going to get rid of track and field at this school, that you would still stay there. When you're choosing a school, would you live there beyond school, right? Choose all these things ahead of time before you start going through your choices of schools to choose from. So that's it for now. If you have any further questions, please write the comments below. Have all of us create a discussion about it. But if you're a person that is D1 or bust, keep that mentality and understand that you're going up against 8 million people and also 480,000 other people that are in your same boat. And now that's going to help your training as you get through your high school career. All right, you have any questions? Shoot me an email at info@KeinanBriggs.com. If you enjoyed this conversation, please do me a favor and join my Facebook group, The Brig. It's a community where I'm able to give you, the athlete and or parent of an athlete, guidance to success on and off the track. Hey, you might even win some free stuff. Also subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow my social media platforms. See you next time.